Alrighty, welcome, my friends, to another episode here of Extreme Health Radio. A nice special episode for today. Today's going to be a great show. We're going to talk with Andy Mant from Blublox.com, and we're going to get really deep on this whole light issue. And I hope you guys are enjoying all the new shows that we're doing on a daily basis now. So if you guys are subscribed to us on iTunes, we're releasing a bunch of our sort of best of podcasts, and so we're releasing those every single day. So if you haven't subscribed on iTunes yet, make sure to subscribe, and you'll get a podcast every single day, which is cool. So you'll get some new content as well as some archived best of content as well. So today is a special show. We're doing this at around 4 p.m. Pacific time. This is normally we do it at 10:45 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but since Andy is in Perth, Australia, we are sort of changing our time a bit because I don't want him to get up in the middle of the night to do a show with us. So this is going to be a great show about light and blue light and how blue light specifically affects and impacts our health. We're going to talk about green light as well and how light frequencies impact our health, our sleep, our energy, our mitochondria. And it's my contention that light is way more important than food. And so it's kind of a liberating thing, because if you're dialed into food and you think that food is the end-all be-all, if it starts and ends with food, then it gets really, really challenging. So you can become like a food Nazi and things like that. So realizing that light plays much more of an impact on your health is quite liberating, and so we're going to introduce him in just a second. Like I said before, we broadcast 3 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and let me bring up our show page here. Actually, I don't think I can bring it up right now, but got a lot of cool guests coming up. We've got Dana Scott. We've got Andy Mant today. We'll be talking about blue light, and then we got Dana Scott on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, and we'll be talking with her about natural dog care, feeding dogs properly, and taking care of your animals and your pups using natural methods. So that's going to be a really cool show. Then we've got Stuart Nunley and Scott Nelson. We'll be talking with Dr. Nunley about root canals and cavitations. He's our biological dentist that we go to in Texas. So we'll be talking with him. And we have Scott Nelson on the show. We'll be talking with him about the Juve red light therapy, which I'll share with you guys a little bit about later on in the show. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you haven't subscribed, if you're watching on YouTube or anywhere else like that, make sure to subscribe so you get updates on all of our content that we have coming up. So I want to make sure that you don't miss any of the content or the shows that we have going on for you. All right, so today we got Andy Mant. Let me bring him up here. And if you guys caught our last show, I think that was episode 589, if my memory's correct. We talked about light as well. Let me bring him up here. And he's the CEO and the founder of Blublox, which are the glasses that I'm wearing. And many of you guys probably wonder, what the heck am I doing wearing these orange glasses all the time? But there's a very specific reason for that. So let me bring Andy on the show. Andy, how you doing, my friend?
Hey Justin, I'm great, thanks. Always a pleasure to be invited on to talk with you.
Yeah. So you are in Perth, and we were talking before the show. It's just coming into summertime there right now. It's probably springtime, right?
It is, yeah. Probably just going into summer. Yeah, it's getting really hot out there. We're getting lots of sun, which is good, but lots of intense heat as well. So yeah, it's good. It's better than winter for us anyway.
Now, when I follow your Instagram on both Blublox as well as your own personal one, and I see you in the sun a lot. Now, how much time are you trying to get out in the sun every day? Like, what's your sort of daily average there?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And Australia's a funny one because you've got to be a little more careful and cognizant to the fact that our ozone layer is a lot thinner than the rest of the world. So I guess what we do here is probably going to be slightly different to say what you do in the States, because you've got a good solid ozone over there. So we get like a lot more UV light coming through. So we should really, a bit more careful when we're out in the sun. So much so that it's important to be getting sun for different times of the day. So a lot of people make the mistake of basically not going out in the sun in the morning or the evening and just going out in the sort of late morning, middle of the day, which is not good if you do that on your own. So I'll talk about my routine in just a little bit, but I'll just give you a little bit of precursor into why I guess UV is not good if you just have it on its own in the middle of the day. And that's because the spectrum of light, which is present in the mornings and evening, contains an invisible light called infrared light that's sort of red and orange. And it's those types of light that are very restorative and actually been proven to repair any UV related damage from during the day. So UV is great, like we need UV light, but then damage if you have overexposure to it. But nature has this amazing way of repairing this for you if you get the evening sun and the morning sun as well. So my routine over here is I get up probably at the moment we don't have daylight savings in Perth, which is really good for us. So I'm getting up at like 5 to about 5:15 in the morning. I'm going outside and I'm looking towards the sun for a couple of minutes as it's rising. So it's not intense. The lux level is low and I can look almost directly at it, maybe to the left or right a little bit. And I'm doing that because it's entraining my master body clock, which is giving me healthy circadian rhythms. I'm also out in the morning because I want to raise my cortisol levels, which makes me feel alert for the day and really well and ready and happy. Also getting something or stimulating the production of something called serotonin, a neurotransmitter. And you can only get this from seeing, the morning sun, because of the certain frequencies of light that are present. And what serotonin does later on in the evening, in the absence of blue and green light, is it actually turns into melatonin, which is a powerful antioxidant, helps us sleep, and generally sort of helps us repair the body. So I'm probably outside in the morning because I go out and have to do a little bit of work on my business. So I sit outside and do that work probably for an hour in the mornings. And then once the sun is fully up, I have to go into the office and do some work. So that's what a lot of people would do there is probably go to work in their office, in an office type job. So what happens then is I'm starting to get exposed to artificial light then. So I take precaution, these glasses that I'm wearing now, making sure everything's well lit. As you can see behind me, I've got a lot of natural light coming in and I've got Iris on my computer. But I'm looking at getting breaks every hour and going out without any sunglasses on, and just sort of, moving about in the sun for 5 minutes, just to make sure that the specific frequencies of light that are changing throughout the day are entering my eye and being translated into the correct sort of secretion of hormones for that period of the day. A lot of mistake you see of getting up in the mornings, looking at the sunrise, brilliant, that's great, but then they're sitting under artificial light all day. Every sort of hour that goes past during the day, there's a different changing frequency and spectrum of sunlight that we need to get through our eyes. And a lot of people will say to me, how can I go outside to get this if I work in an office? And it's quite an easy one. There's always going to be smokers in your office. Smokers get to go outside, no questions asked, to have a cigarette whenever they want. So, pull that one. Make sure you say to them, look, these guys can go out and smoke. Or maybe just say to them, look, I'm smoking now, even though you're not, and go outside and get some light. But it only needs to be for a couple of minutes. And then in the evening, like a lot of people, watching the sun set is so important as well, because of like what earlier about getting that infrared light again to repair any UV damage that's happened on our skin and in our cells. We're taking the benefits of UV, but again, if we're overexposed, then we need to have the restorative light, infrared and red, post at sunset to repair as well. So make sure you're watching that sunset through the eyes, as little close as you possibly can, and get that light. And what that spectrum does at that time of the day as well, and how it's made up, it actually tells the brain that nighttime is drawing near. We need to start secreting melatonin. We need to start making it from serotonin, but also we need to start reducing cortisol levels. So it's that type of light that reduces your stress hormones as well. So it's really a balancing act. There's no, people say, what's the most important time to get out during it? There's no sort of real answer to, you should be outside all the time, be being out as frequently as possible if you work inside, but you've got to get that sunrise like I do, you've got to get that sunset like I do, and you've got to be outside probably at least 4 or 5 times a day to try and get to that optimal level of light health.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And for those of you that are watching live or watching on the replay, we apologize. Andy's sort of cutting in and out there, and there's really not a whole lot we can do at this point because it's just really challenging. You know, he being in Perth, Australia, and us being in California. So apologize for that, but this is sort of the best that we can do right now. But really good information nonetheless. And Andy, I'm curious. This is what I'm curious about. A lot of people have asked me, and I'm curious your response about
Yep.
like what is the problem with looking at your iPhone before, or a screen, a tablet, whatever, or even just the TV before you get full spectrum frequency sunlight into your eyes? Like what's the problem with screwing up that order there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So there's a sort of pathway when it comes to light. So as we said, like the spectrum of light changes throughout the day in terms of different color temperatures, different colors of light, and the mix between invisible and visible light. And it's very important for a correctly functioning circadian rhythm, mitochondria health, and general wellness to have everything in sync in the specific order of the sun. And you can only get that by being outside. Now, what happens when you look at your iPhone before you look at the sunrise is you expose your eyes to the equivalent to midday sun. So something called phase shifting happens. So that means that your circadian rhythm actually misses that really important first sort of 5, 6 hours of the day and actually starts ticking at what it perceives as midday, so 12 p.m. And this means that you might not be able to get to sleep at the correct day because your body will probably start to induce sleep around about 2, 3 a.m. rather than say 9, 10 o'clock at night. And you know, you're also not getting the beneficial light first. So, like we said earlier, the infrared light and the red are going to be having blue light literally on its own, piercing your eyes very early in the morning, which you know is going to cause in the long run a lot of like retinal damage, macular degeneration, and eye strain. So, you know, a lot of people complain that when they get up and the first thing they look at is digital devices, is they get this sort of dull headache throughout the day, and that's because you're not correct frequencies of light first, and you're getting a really intense blue, which is you know equivalent of going from waking up to the midday sun. So it's probably the equivalent, like before digital devices, of going to bed and waking up at say midday and then going straight outside. Like that's not conducive to good health. You're going to end up more susceptible to sunburn. Your eyes are going to be more sensitive to the UV light, which could lead to cataracts later on in life. It's important to get that initial natural spectrum of sunlight to actually protect your eyes from and circadian rhythms from all these other mismatched diseases that could happen from you know lying in bed and not seeing that initial sunrise first, or by just looking at digital technology and ignoring the sun.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's a big deal, and most people are getting up and just looking at their phones to begin with, which is just crazy. And once you start changing your practice, you start noticing a big difference. I like what you were saying though about how important it is to go out into the sun, you know, every hour, you know, because if you think about it, like our mitochondria are similar to like they're always sending out frequencies trying to determine what kind of environment we're in, always trying to figure out, are we in a cold environment, a warm, a dry environment, are we way far north, are we way far south, always trying to figure out where we are and what we're doing. And so when you go out into the sun, you're resetting your clock. It's like those old school clocks that people would have, and the people would, you know, sort of set them at the same time. They come back in a year and they're totally off, right? And so by
Yeah.
constantly going into the sun, we're resetting our clock to be more in tune with the daytime, with the rhythms, the circadian cycles. But when we're constantly cut off from that, you know, there's all kinds of circadian sort of mismatched diseases that occur. And I think that it's really important what you're saying is to go out and get, even if it's just for a couple minutes, right? That helps.
Yeah, absolutely. It so does, and you know, it's very important to understand that you know a lot of diseases that we see today aren't food related; they are circadian
Mm-hmm.
diseases. And Dr. Sachin Panda actually says it very well that you know a lot of these diseases can be cured by correct counteracting your circadian rhythm, and it's a whole host of diseases, and it's a lot of diseases you would associate if you didn't understand food, things like insulin resistance, like diabetes, obesity, that are all sort of in the mass media as not moving enough and eating too much. But when you actually look into what and how they're caused, a lot of them actually stem back to actually being circadian. So it's so important to live your life, with the spin of the earth. And, it'd be very interesting that if we took human beings to another planet that had exactly the same food, had exactly the same, climate and conditions for life, for us to actually live and breathe and function. If the spin of that planet was outside of 24 hours, we would not age well. We would have all sorts of diseases. We would have all sorts of circadian problems because we have developed and evolved over so many millions of years in sync with the spin and rotation of the Earth. And every animal has, every animal runs on these body clocks, whether them be daytime creatures or nighttime creatures. So it's so important that even if you have one day of not having a functioning circadian clock, you can feel that sort of social jet lag and fatigue for days to come. So it is like, this is big, this is much bigger than food.
Oh yeah, totally, totally, completely. That's one of the things after doing 600 and some odd shows. I think this is 638. It's one of the things that I am slowly starting to realize is that food is way down the list when it comes to our health, and most people put such an emphasis on it. I want to welcome some of our people from YouTube in the comments. Lauren is here. Sleeping Purple Guider is here. Love Bud is here. Jorge Falkio is here. A lot of cool people. Tweet Lady. It's great to have a lot of you guys here. There's a question here from Callie Johnson, and she wants to know, this is interesting because it's funny, just before the show, you probably saw, Andy, I was doing my rebounder outside in the backyard in full spectrum sun, and then I was finished with that. And then I came inside and I was looking at, I think, a Facebook Live that Erin from Health Nut News was doing. And she was doing, I didn't get a chance to really dive too much into it because I was getting ready to come here to the studio. But she was talking about geoengineering and what they're going to be doing. So after the show, I'm going to go, watch her video on that. But Callie says here, or Kaylee, how are we supposed to get the sun when they start solar geoengineering or sun dimming? Says the sun is so important for our health. How do we protect ourselves from bad light? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that we've been discussing in the Light and Health group over the last weeks, because we saw a few news articles saying that they're looking to dim the sun, which is the most ridiculous idea I think I've ever heard. But
right.
with all the geoengineering as well is really bad. I see it a lot in the States, and we're fortunate enough that we don't get it. Or from what I can see here in Perth, that we're quite isolated and we don't have that issue. But it's a big issue for you guys in the States, that's for sure. And ultimately, when they're doing this kind of stuff, it's going to be an issue for you guys. And optimal is obviously not that happening, but we've got to look at ways of actually counteracting that and making sure that you're trying to be as optimal as you can in the environment that you are in. And the advice that Jack Kruse would give, and the advice that I would give, which isn't always possible for the 90% of people, unfortunately, is you're better off moving away somewhere that doesn't do that, and getting somewhere that you can actually get this light. But that's not practical for a lot of people. So you just need to make sure that you are outside a lot more. When the light is dimmed, you're going to have a lot of issues with translating the specific frequencies of light from the sun, because the lux will be lower. And it's not just about the colors or the invisible or visible light, it's about lux as well. And our body translates how intense the light is to signal what time of the day it is as well. So that's going to be a major issue for you guys if that actually starts to intensify and happen more. What you can do as well, which isn't really ideal, but if there is like prolonged periods of dimming, you can actually look at some light therapy devices. So one that a lot of people swear by is Human Charger. Also got something called retimer. So yes, these are artificial light sources, and yes, they contain the blue and the green, but at specific times of the day, they will, pulse light like the Human Charger through the ear, the retimer through the eyes, like higher lux light if the outside light is dimmer. So that could be a good hack to use if that actually does happen in the States and happen more frequently. And then you can combine that with the use of blue blocker glasses at the correct time of day, whether it be in front of a screen during the day wearing the clears or yellows, or red lens sleep plus blue blocks after dark. So that would be my advice for that is, try and get outside. Well, number one, try and move to a different location. Probably not going to be practical. Two, get outside much, much more if you can do that. And three, start doing some research on Human Charge and retimer as a backup measure. And they're probably the three fundamental steps that I would go to. In that order would be optimal. All of them would actually make an improvement on what your government doing at the moment, which is tragic to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, hey, Andy, is that retimer, re-timer.com? Is that the website for that?
That's the one. Yeah, they're the guys that Blublox, well, we didn't sort of partner with. We worked in unison with the Australian national soccer team when they went over to do their World Cup qualifiers over in Honduras. So what happened was the retimer was used for when they were on their leg from Sydney to Honolulu because they wanted to keep them awake and alert and readjust them to the time zone that they were coming. And then when they landed in Honolulu, the team switched over to Blublox Sleep Plus glasses and used them all the way to Honduras because they wanted to block blue and green light. So we're lucky enough that their sports scientists partnered with both of us in order to understand how to light to increase their performance. So retimer worked to keep the guys awake and alert, and Blublox worked to get them ready for sleep. So they got the result they needed and qualified for the World Cup. So it must have done something.
Yeah, so I'm just on their website here. You can see if you guys are watching on the YouTube channel. So, so it looks like this is putting out blue and green light. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So the blue and the green for during the beginning of the day and usually during specific periods of the day would actually be good in some would actually sort of help you get over jet lag quicker. It would help sort of in trainer clock if you're traveling through time zones, and also help with the sort of management of lux if you're governed sun, which will be a problem. So I'm not saying that this is an optimal solution, but it's a great solution for something like a jet lag or something like geoengineering where the sun's dim, where we're actually creating a new environment that we need to find hacks for. It wouldn't be my go-to in Australia because I simply don't need it. But I guess when things are starting to move out of your control in America with sun dimming and geoengineering, you might need to, look at devices like this. And, hopefully there'll be more sort of entrepreneurs out there that understand light and can really take that to the next level and, actually have the infrared or UV put into it as well. But, it's very hard to actually, coming from someone that is an entrepreneur in myself, to actually develop something that we know is healthy, that would, give out specific UV frequencies at different times of the day. When the government actually say UV is bad, which it obviously isn't. So it's actually hard to get that through regulatory bodies to actually put out. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I know. It's fascinating. So we have a question here from our chat room. Let's see. Trying to go through and see if people have some good questions here. Okay, so let's see. Sleeping Purple Tiger, cool name, says, any full spectrum LED lights we can buy to replace all of those in our home?
Yeah, great question, and one that you and I, Justin, always speak about because we want to create a sun bulb. But I think first of all we've got to do 2 points to that question. So the first one is full spectrum. You're never going to find that because a lot of the light bulbs that we buy, that will contain specific frequencies of light will never be full spectrum because they don't contain UV, infrared, and a lot of the invisible side of the spectrum. So it's very difficult to the sun. So you're better off searching out sort of an incandescent light for what is available, which will give us sort of a lot less spiky sort of frequent. It's a more balanced sort of spectrum of light, is what I'm trying to say. Your best bet really is to be getting outside when you can as well. A lot. Can you hear the dogs barking in the background? I'm really sorry.
No, it's okay. That happens.
Oh God, crazy. So anyway, they yeah, sorry, I'm losing my boy to these damn animals.
If you want to, hey Andy, if you want to put him out.
Give me 2 seconds. Let me put him outside.
No worries. A lot of people have been asking me why I'm now wearing full sleeves here during the show, and the reason why is because sort of multifaceted approach. When we're dealing with light indoors, it's really tricky because it also depends on what time it is during the day outdoors. And so anytime I'm indoors, I'm always blocking, if I can, most of my skin to the light, because there's a lot of evidence now showing that many of these skin cancers and skin issues is not because of the the light from the sun, which is always being demonized, right? But it's really an overexposure to blue frequencies during the day and night. That's why there's a lot of skin cancers with people that are office workers. And so now whenever I'm doing the shows, unless I forget my long sleeve shirt, I'm covering up as much of my skin as possible, because this light here that I have on is a fake indoor light, and it's got way more blue in it than I prefer. And the reason why I have that is because in the studio, I don't want to turn on the lights overhead because that would just expose everything in the office to much more blue light. So I only have the one blue light on me. And so, Andy, I'm curious about what your strategy is on that, like blocking blue light from hitting your skin, and whether it's day or night when you're indoors.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go back quickly and just answer that question that the guy on YouTube asked as well. Now that these wild dogs have settled down, God, sorry about that. So anyway, yeah. So full spectrum. I think we got to the point that we can't mimic it in one bowl. But I like what you do, Justin. You have lots of different colors of lights around in your studio. So you have a salt lamp giving out that sort of orange, red, yellow light. There's a little bit of obviously there's going to be a little bit of blue and green in there as well in some of your other sources, and there's some purple light. So you're probably getting different light sources. So if you're in an environment where you've got LED lights or a lot of blue and green during the day, then get yourself a salt lamp to go in your room with you, or have some of your bulbs red, have some of your bulbs blue, and then that will balance things out, because there's not actually a product out there that has that full spectrum. Now, the other part of that question was the LED side of the lighting, and you want to avoid LEDs as much as possible because LED lights flicker, and that flicker effect is actually so damaging to your eyes. So macular degeneration, digital eye strain, but also the pulsing of light actually has more of an impact on your circadian rhythms as well. So, if you've got that sort of block light that's flowing freely like it does from the sun, not an issue. But when you actually, or incandescent lights, but if you actually start messing around with LEDs, you're going to get this pulse of light, which is actually really bad for misaligning and inappropriate entrainment of your circadian rhythms. So that would be my answer to his question. And going into your question as well, light on the skin is really bad as well. Like, the main gateway is obviously your eyes, and that's why we wear these glasses to protect our eyes. But the skin is equally as important as well when it comes to light. And it's from both sides of the spectrum. Like, when you're actually outside at any point, you do it really well, Justin, and I do it well as well, that we take a lot of our clothes off, we've just got our shorts on, and we're exposing our body to as much natural light as we can, because we know that the largest organ in the body is our skin. We want to get as much of it absorbed in as possible. We know the benefits, but also we know that melanopsin, which is the light receptor and translator for the rest of our body, is actually all in our skin as well. So this is great news when you're outside and you really want to be outside and exposing that skin to get as much of it in as you can. But on the flip side, this isn't good after dark, because we've got loads of mini suns around our house, in our laptops, in our phones, in our TVs. So when we've got our blue blocker glasses on after dark, and we're on TV with maybe singlet on or just shorts on, we're exposing our skin to all that blue and green light, which is not only sort of damaging your cells and mitochondria, it's also triggering entrainment and inappropriate entrainment of your circadian clock. So you're not going to sleep as well. You might wear some blue blocker glasses and think, oh, my sleep's improved a bit, but I'm still not optimal sleep. A lot of people are ignoring that your skin can actually entrain your clock and suppress melatonin as well if you're exposed to the wrong kind of light. So you should be covering up. Like, the important parts after dark are covering up your head, because there's melanopsin in the brain. You want to be wearing long sleeve clothing, and also your thyroid. You want to be covering that up as well. Like, Hashimoto's is so much on the rise at the moment. We've actually interesting story, although it's quite sad. We've got a friend of mine that I work with. She's just been diagnosed with Hashimoto's at 30 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So she's obviously had this at 28, 29, and just been diagnosed with it. And she's gone to obviously see a doctor about this, and they basically said, you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life.
Wow.
I've tried to talk to her about how to mitigate this and sort of help, but a lot of people don't want to learn it. You can only really preach to people that actually want to learn this stuff. But
right.
The fact that she's sat in front of a computer all day. She's obviously got very she actually uses a lot of products on her skin, so like a lot of, because I always ask these subtle questions, and she wears a lot of fake tan, things like that. They're containing a lot of chemicals. And the thyroid, which is what Hashimoto's is, like hyperthyroidism, is only about 4 or 5 millimeters below the skin. So it's so susceptible to being damaged by blue light. And when you're actually in front of it all the time, it's constantly damaging it. And it's the most damaging form of light, blue, because it's short wavelength, high energy. And we're seeing this rise a lot, this Hashimoto's, and we're seeing it more in women, interestingly enough. And one of the theories I have as to why it's more in women is when blokes actually work in an office environment, they typically have to wear a shirt and a tie. And that actually, when you think about it, a shirt and a tie will cover up that thyroid. So they're going to be less susceptible to actually getting light damage to the thyroid. Whereas women sort of wear more of a V type top, and it's more exposed to the elements of blue and green light. But it's just really sad to see that, she's actually gone to the doctors and they're basically putting her on this medicine that's actually making her gain quite a lot of weight. She's really depressed with it. She's really down. And you almost want to just sort of shake her a little bit and be like, there are natural methods to actually, if not cure this, really reduce the symptoms and make you live a long and healthy life. And a lot of that is light management. Like, wear a scarf in front of your neck during the day when you're at a computer, if you don't have software such as Iris, or you're in a well-lit area, and get outside and experience the sun. Stop putting all these chemicals all over your body and your skin, and change your diet as well, is probably further down the line to cutting out things like inflammatory processed grains and vegetable oils and things like that. So it's really sad that you see that kind of thing, but that's another problem with that I wanted to highlight with incorrect light management for the skin. And I'm like sort of having a chat with you here, fairly exposed skin wise, but I've got sunlight, full spectrum sunlight shining in through the windows at the back here. I've got blue light and green light reducing software on my computer, and I'm in and out of the office and house, like literally constantly, and I'm outside mitigating the effects of that light. So yeah, it's a big one, Justin. It really is. You've got to massively protect the skin as well as the eyes. The glasses are great because we want to be able to see. We don't want to walk around eyes closed. But you've got to be looking after the skin as well. And it's so important that both come together, because without one, then the other is not to make you optimal. So, people have got to look at that as well, and take efforts to protect that skin after, at least after dark. And if you're a woman, or a guy, really, if that's not wearing a shirt during the day, protect that thyroid, because Hashimoto's is going through the roof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, good stuff. Good stuff. I hope you guys are enjoying the show here with Andy Mant. If you guys want to check out his website, it's blublox.com, BLUBLOX.com. And if you guys want to support our show too, if you like the work that we do and enjoy the content that we produce, we have a link to his glasses in our store. So if you go to extremehealthradio.com and click at the top for the store, you'll be able to check out his glasses. That will support our work too. And so we're going to take a little break right now, but when we come back, if you guys are in the chat room, I will answer or ask some of your questions to Andy. If you guys want to type them in all caps. I wanted to bring this up. Andy, you might be interested in this. Maybe when we get back from the break, we can talk a little bit about this as well. But I posted this to our Instagram, and this was just purely by just sort of luck and randomness. So before I knew about the flicker rate of LED a long time ago, I had purchased some of these red LED bulbs thinking they were great. And then I learned that LED has a high flicker rate. So I was like, oh man, now I got to get some incandescent red options and stuff. And so a few weeks ago, Brian Hoyer, who's a building biologist, was over at our house, and he has like $30,000 worth of equipment. And he tested these particular LEDs. If you guys are watching on the YouTube channel, you can see they're by a company called Sunlight. And they had zero flicker rate according to the instruments that he was testing with. Now, I don't know for sure because, they could be producing a flicker with a more advanced tool that he didn't have, but he had like $30,000 worth of equipment testing EMF, flicker rate, and all this stuff. And on all his instruments, he showed zero flicker rate, which we were both really surprised. And he comments here too, Brian Hoyer, answering a couple people's questions. So it might be something to consider if you guys want to check out these Sunlight. I just got these off of Amazon, so you might want to look into those. What I did want to tell you about, though, we mentioned this a little bit before the show. I was doing my rebounder before the show out in the full spectrum sun, and rebounding has been a huge part of my life. It's one of the best health, I think, practices you could do. Jumping up and down on one of these little mini trampolines, and you might ask, like, why is this good for me? I feel like, I used to watch people in the 70s, Jane Fonda, do all this weird stuff with leg warmers on, and it was really bizarre. That's why I used to think about this stuff. But jumping up and down, when you start learning about the benefits, it's incredible for bone density regrowth. So if you're having bone density issues or you want to avoid having bone density issues, rebounding is key for that. That's why the astronauts would always do rebounding when they came back from space. And so it's also incredible for your lymphatic system. And so you probably know that your lymph system is where you store a lot of toxins and poisons and environmental chemicals. And we had, what's her name, Stephanie Seneff on the show a while back, and she was saying that now glyphosate, she thinks, is now being in the air that we breathe, because 10% of all gasoline is made from ethanol, which comes from corn, and all crops that are coming from corn are sprayed with Monsanto's Roundup glyphosate. And so now this is making it into the air that we breathe. So it's crazy. So lymphatic system drainage is huge, and jumping up and down on the rebounder is a really great way to just enhance your lymphatic system and to improve your overall health. Here's some pictures of Kate jumping on it when we first got it. That was really cool. And here's a picture of me with it. And so it's something I do every day for 30 minutes. I try to do it every day in the sun, as long as it's sunny, and even if it's cloudy, I go out there and I do it. So rebounding is key. I highly recommend the Bellicon. Get this thing, guys. I'm telling you, make an investment in your health, because this tool will last you for years and years. It uses flexi ropes, which you can see here, instead of like those metal coils that are really loud. So you can do it when the kids are sleeping. There's just no better rebounder on the market. And I went through a ton of really cheapos from Walmart, and it was just, I spent $50 and I could have just saved up my money and got a Bellicon to start with, which I should have done looking back. But this is just a really great tool. It's really great too after you work out. So do a hard workout and you just flush all of that lymph fluid, increase your circulation. I just can't recommend the Bellicon enough. So make sure to check that out, as well as speaking of light with Andy Mant. This is a really cool tool here, the Juve red light therapy device. And this is using specifically certain frequencies of light, namely the red frequency and the red color temperature of light. And here's a picture of me using it. I'm standing in front here, and I got my Bellicon actually in the background there, along with my sauna. But this is me standing. I usually do it naked, so I get full spectrum, or actually red light onto my bits, and so that helps to improve testosterone, and it's incredible for your mitochondria. It helps to increase circulation in the body, lower inflammation. The studies on red light therapy just go on and on and on. This Juve is cool because it's FDA tested, independently cleared, and it's also cool because it has a modular design, so like over time you can build it, and you can get it actually looking like this one here. If you guys are watching on the YouTube, you see this guy. I think he might be like a UFC fighter or something, but he's got the panels on all four sides of him, and this is just really, really a cool way to bring more light into your life. And when you start understanding too how much your body is affected by light, like we're talking about on the show, it's massive, massive, massive. But better than this too. I would always recommend just not buying the Juve and just going outside as much as you possibly can. I mean, that would be even better. But the problem is that, we're busy. We'll work indoors a lot, and so sometimes, especially during the winter months, you can't get outside a lot. So, having a therapy device like this in your home is really cool. This thing will last you like 50,000 hours. It's got a 2-year warranty. It's great for increasing ATP production, increasing the electron chain transport, so the mitochondria works more efficiently. It helps the mitochondria to make more water, which is one of the roles and features of the mitochondria, is it actually makes water in your system, and it's great for collagen production, great for wrinkles and skin and scars, and helps to speed wound healing. I mean, this whole light piece, the more you dive into this whole world of light, it just becomes increasingly clear that it's the light first. And like Dr. Jack Kruse talks about, even the food that we consume is tied inextricably to the circadian rhythm and photosynthesis and the light cycles of the earth. So when you're eating food, you're really just eating repositories of light. You're getting those biophotons from the sun in your food, and so that's why it's really important to make sure that you mitigate your light environment and bring in beneficial light sources to your home. And so Andy, let me bring Andy back here and bring him back on the show. So Andy, do you use any of these red light devices, and what's your experience with those?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I actually use Gemba Red, which is well, I wanted to try this last year. I wanted to try red light therapy, but I just found that investing in one of the Juve panels was probably just a bit too expensive for me at the time. And then a good friend of mine, Andrew Latour, American guy, he's living in New Zealand at the moment. He actually developed a red light panel that was probably about the size of a laptop. Did pretty much the same that Juve did, although the sort of irradiance was slightly less, so you'd need longer to use it. But he did it for about 250 US dollars, which was like insanely cheap. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try it out, and yeah, I've had some great experiences with it. I mean, I find it's fantastic in the mornings, in the winter months, because obviously there's a lot of I find in the winter in Australia we get a lot of rain, so there's a lot of cloud cover. I still get outside anyway because light is obviously still coming through the clouds, just not a lot of it. So I normally supplement on the red light by having 20-30 minutes of that in the morning. My wife really swears by it. She uses it every night for 20 minutes on her face, and she reckons that is reducing wrinkles. Not that she has, like 33 years old, but she feels it is, which is fantastic. And there is a lot of evidence that suggests that it does increase collagen in the skin, which is obviously the elasticity. So you're not going to get the sort of sagging and wrinkles. So women might want to use it for that, or vain men like myself that would probably do the same. But then sunlight can do the same as well, like you were just saying, for any of these things. But I really, really beneficial. Like I train similar to yourself, Justin. Lift a lot of weights, a lot of sort of resistance type exercise, and I found that after a heavy session, I'll probably be have that delayed onset muscle soreness for maybe 2 or 3 days afterwards. But using Gemba Red and red light therapy, within 24 hours, I was feeling fresh again and ready to train. So I found them really beneficial for recovery. And I also found, and this is probably anecdotal, and I'm very evidence-based, so I apologize in advance, I'm going to put it in here. I also did a little trial for about 2 weeks of actually shining it on my testicles.
Uh-huh.
And I felt a lot stronger in the gym. It could have been a placebo effect. And I also found that, I don't know, I just felt leaner, more aesthetic, more sort of, hungry and sort of ready to train more by doing that. I also found that my sex drive during that sort of 2 weeks was heightened as well. So that all sort of stems back to me thinking maybe that red light can be used to increase testosterone as well, which is good for someone, well, good for everyone that wants to do that kind of thing for health benefits. So they're the kind of ways that I've utilized it myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to be doing, it's about 4:45 p.m. here. It's getting dark here in California. And so with twins, I have a very busy schedule now. Our twins are like 5 months old. So I'm super swamped. And I was going to do my workout outside before the show today, but I wasn't able to get to it. So when I do my workout now, I have to do it in the garage. So tonight I'll be doing it under red light. So I'll put that on our Instagram. But, using and utilizing red light, I think is really important for us and understanding the spectrums. A lot of people too don't understand that, like, even if you can, like I try to do all my Juve sessions during the time of day when the sun is out. There's been evidence showing now too that it's increasing ATP, increasing energy production. And so if you do it before bed, like it allows you to to stay up, which would be great if you had some homework to do or something like that, but it's going to suppress your sleep a bit. So, I think it's important when you do it. There's a whole science behind this light thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason that happens, because a lot of people will probably hear you say that and think, yeah, but red light doesn't suppress melatonin. And that's correct, it doesn't. I mean, all light does it in a certain way, but red light is very minimal. Now, the reason you shouldn't be using it before bed is what kind of light from a Juve or a Gemba Red is present that wouldn't be present after dark to our ancestors, and that's the infrared invisible portion. So the actual visible red, which would be ancestrally speaking from a campfire, and then later on from candles and lamps, is actually not going to suppress your melatonin. We've evolved under that light. But when you actually use a red light panel, it contains that invisible infrared light, which is really only found during the day, notably in the mornings, and probably around sunset as well. So anything after sunset, you don't want to be using those devices, in my opinion, and the reason being is because it contains too much of the invisible spectrum, which is going to heighten energy. It's going to make you alert, and something you don't want for. So just to sort of lay that down in layman's terms as to why, because red light is good after dark, but near infrared and infrared probably not so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, good stuff. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. And I apologize for the cutting out of Andy. It's the best that we can do right now. So I apologize for that, but still good information, really amazing information, actually. And Jan brings up something, Andy, in the chat room that I thought I'd bring up because we didn't really go back to it, but this was in reference to the LED lights that I was able to find just by pure random chance, that Brian Hoyer tested that had apparently zero flicker rate. So Jan in the chat room says, "What's the best light to have at home? LEDs are way bad." So curious. First of all, did you catch that information about those red LEDs that I have that apparently have no flicker rate?
Yeah, I've written that down. I think I remember you posting it, and I was going to have a look into it, but I never got around to it. So I've written it down to actually have a look at. But
Yeah.
that's great that Brian's seriously. That is fantastic. And look, that it is possible not to get flicker in LED. But 99% of them that you'll buy in the shops won't have that kind of non-flicker effect. So it's amazing that that's out there and been tested. And I'll certainly be getting some of those if they'll ship to Australia. But in answer to our question, you want to be avoiding LEDs as a general rule of thumb, apart from the ones that obviously you found. But your first go-to for circadian lighting in your home should be an incandescent bulb. Now, there's two issues with incandescent that I've seen in the past. Number one, they don't last very long, so you're constantly replacing lights. And two, a lot of countries, including Australia, don't actually produce them anymore, so you have to get them shipped in from overseas. Not too sure what it's like in America, but we can't get them here, so I have to order mine from China. I also got a few from Israel, because I've got a contact over there as well, so that's good. But the second probably best way to do things before you hit LED red is to look at halogen. I've got a few halogens around the house, and they're a little bit brighter than incandescent, but they don't flicker. And I've used those mainly in the ceiling lights. So, for instance, in my bathroom and bedroom where I've got, I don't want to be getting on a ladder every week and changing an incandescent. I have halogen, and they have about 5,000 hours in them, which is going to be, I don't know how long, maybe a couple of years worth before I have to get up on the ladder again. So that's what I would do. I'd look at incandescent and then also look at halogen as well. And there's a lot of places online that you can buy these now. So, just do your research, get on Google Shopping, have a look, and all of them are going to be, if it's incandescent or halogen, all of them are going to be fine. So just get the cheapest ones you can get. And when it comes to LEDs, obviously, if you can't find either of those two types of light, then go for your LED as well. But just bear in mind that there is flicker in them, unless you get the sunlight ones that you've shown. So that would be the order that I would do it. And I have both incandescent mainly and a few halogens around my house, red, because during the day I'm fortunate enough that it's very well lit. You can see here, this is just backing onto my living room. There's a hell of a lot of natural light coming through, so I don't have to have any lights on during the day. And if I need lights on after dark, which 9.9% of the time I do, I just switch on my lights in here and they're red. So it works really well for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, good stuff. We had a question here from George in the chat room, and I wanted to put up this again. This is a link to our Instagram. This is just recently. This was only November 23rd, 2018 that we had. This is the SUNLITE that apparently has no flicker rate. So if you guys want to go through, our link to Amazon and do your holiday shopping, stuff like that, that would be cool. If you go to extremehealthradio.com, there's a link to our Amazon link, or our Amazon page down at the bottom. If you click through that, that'll help support the show, and you can pick up these Sunlight, apparently zero flicker rate LEDs, and so might be something to consider. It might be something to think about and to purchase. One of the things that I have sort of moved more and more away from is just light at all during the evening, and it's really challenging because we're so used to in our culture, right, Andy, to have all these lights on. And we're talking about before the show, you were telling me that you went out somewhere last night and you forgot to bring your glasses somewhere. And this has happened to me once or twice. And once you get used to wearing these glasses and living this kind of lifestyle, blocking your skin and things like that from these LED blue lights, like when you do eat it, it's like being on a raw vegan diet and then just eating a truckload of like fast food hamburgers. Like it just hits your system so much, right? Like, just last night you're telling me about it, right?
Oh, it's horrendous. Like, yeah, I had a meeting after work and had to go to it, so I didn't have time to go and get my red lens blue blockers, the Sleep Plus ones, Wayfarers from Blublox that I wear. And oh my God, seriously, just the intensity of the light. I don't know how people function without wearing these after dark.
Mm.
It was just brutal. My eyes felt like, honestly, they were like, having people putting needles in them. It was horrible. And it was just really, really sore. And I could, it's weird. It's funny to say, but I could actually feel it burning my eyes. Like, it was so weird. And then I got home and I literally normally fall asleep within maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Because I track everything with my Aura ring. So it tracks my sleep and how quickly I can fall asleep, how much deep sleep, how much REM sleep I have.
Uh-huh.
Normally get 20% deep sleep. And that night, that's pretty consistent. And that night, or last night, I had, I think it was 3% deep sleep. And my REM sleep had dropped by about 35% as well. So the two really important stages of sleep, that REM sleep restoring that brain and memory, and deep sleep for like muscle repair and cell clear out, I literally got none of it, just from not wearing my blue blockers. Whereas tonight, when I wear my blue blockers, I'm assuming my sleep will go back to normal straight away. But it'd be interesting to see how long it takes to get back, whether it
Yeah.
steadily increases over a few nights. Because it's so consistent by wearing blue blocks like after dark that
Mm-hmm.
my deep sleep is massive, my REM sleep's massive, but then just one night of not wearing them and I literally had none. I think it was like 11 minutes or something of my 8 hours sleep was like restorative deep sleep, which is ridiculous. And I'll tell you what, I feel like I've gone, that picture of that UFC fighter you just posted, I feel like I've gone about 3 rounds with him and not got any punches in. Like, I feel
Uh,
dreadful. So yeah, it's really important, like, management. And when you actually start wearing, like, it's one of those things, right? It's one of those things like, when people eat like a standard diet, they feel okay, they can function, and they just think that's normal. But when they actually change their diet and go on to something, really healthy, and they start feeling amazing, they're like, wow, I could never eat like that again. And this is for light. Like, once you actually start wearing Blublox, you forget to do it once. You're not going to forget to do it again, because you're in actual physical pain, and you just realize to yourself, how the hell was I living like this, and what damage might at the wrong periods of day actually doing, to our bodies and our eyes. And it's just shocking. Like, a lot of people say that when they wear Blublox red lenses, they sometimes have a little cheeky peek, underneath them at the TV that they're watching, and it's just like, it's so bright and so intense that they wonder how they actually watch TV in the past without wearing these glasses. And
mm-hmm.
we were having a chat offline earlier about the fact that they're making TVs more bright and more vivid in terms of the colors that are coming out of them. And I don't watch anything in high definition. I watch everything under definition because the lux is lower. But we're not even on HD now. We're on something called 4K, which is like ultra bright, ultra vivid colors. And we're watching this after dark. And I read an article as well a couple of days ago that they're actually starting now to develop 8K technology, which will make it even more brighter. So, we're not even going in the right direction. We're going completely in the wrong direction as a general population, and technological advancements in terms of light. And we need more people like the Andrew Latours of Gemba Red, the Jews, the Andy Mants of Blublox, to actually start creating circadian friendly products, for those that want to listen. But we need to try and come on amazing shows like yours to be able to actually spread this message further, so people actually start listening in higher places, can actually start to do this on more of a bigger scale, and going that route of, like, 8K technology when it comes to watching TV, because we're in a massive obesity and health epidemic right now, which has really been driven by the advancement of LED lighting. And this is just going further and further. And we mentioned earlier, just food is way down the list, and I completely agree with you. But when you look at actually the availability of food, it's available 24 hours a day now, which is a problem. But could we get to that food in pitch darkness? No, we wouldn't want to because we would be falling asleep, or in red light. No, we wouldn't want to because we'd be falling asleep. It's this constant exposure to this blue and green light all the way through the day and all the way through the night that's making our insulin levels rise. It's making our blood glucose level rise, which is then leading for us to go, oh, I need to eat at 10 o'clock at night, to eat at 1 a.m. in the morning. And just the availability of this stuff. Lighting has enabled the availability of food 24/7. You can go to a McDonald's anytime you want. You can go to a diner anytime you want. So, yes, food is available and food is a problem. But if you correct it first in the environment of light that we live in, people would not want that stuff at that time of the day.
I agree. Hey, Andy, I wanted to talk with you too, just in closing up here on the show,
Yep.
about some of this peripheral light, and people have been asking about
Yeah.
it. I know you've been sort of talking about it in your. By the way, if you're listening to this or watching this, make sure to join Andy's Facebook group. What's the name of that group, Andy? I forget the name of it.
Yeah, it's simply light and health.
Okay.
There's just under 6,000 people in there now, and it's the most active group on Facebook in terms of discussion around light and health. I'm members of them all, and we get engagement of 100, 150 comments, and a couple of hundred likes per post that we're putting in there. So everything's discussion based, and it's very beginner as well. So I take a lot of Jack Cruise's work and I translate it so people can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of really cool people in there that are actually sort of weighing in on discussions that are really well versed in this stuff and have worked closely with Dr. Cruz. So it's well worth joining if you want an easy to learn sort of platform, because some of Jack's stuff is a little bit difficult sometimes for the layman to understand. So still follow Jack, but questions that he's asked, or if there's things he's posting you don't understand, a lot of people post them in my group, and then myself and the other experts will then answer them for you and say, well, this is what he means, this is what we think he means, and we then have discussions of translating basically his work, because a lot of it is difficult.
Yeah, no, it's a great place for people to go and to just get schooled and learn about how this light is affecting our biology, and it's affecting us in ways we never imagined, and I think it's super important. So yeah, make sure to join Andy's group, and then Andy, some people were talking recently, I think, in the group about this idea of peripheral light. So what's the deal with that? Does that affect us at all?
Yeah.
Because I've often wondered that myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, it doesn't. And we've had these discussions for months and months and months, and we've actually we decided to delve into the literature and do some research on this and actually try and understand, is it a bigger deal as people are making out? And it appears that it isn't. Okay, and the reason it isn't is because you have something in your retina called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, so IPRGC cells. Okay. Now, these cells are located in the inner retina. A lot of people make the mistake that they are actually present on the, throughout the eye, but they're not. They're actually deep within the inner retina. So any minor light that leaks around the side of your glasses, like blue blocker glasses, is actually not enough when tested for the pupillary light reflex to phototranslate enough to cause an issue in the iris. So basically, the iris is open wider anyway due to the lenses themselves. So it's all a matter of light angle into the eye. And a lot of people actually go, oh, well, what about light rebounding off your glasses and into the eye? And that's just plain nonsense. Like when you actually look at it, the glasses are tinted for a reason, and they basically aren't going to reflect light. They just basically don't allow it to pass through. So there's not going to be any reflection off our sleep off any blue blocker, in all fairness. So wraparounds are actually really not worth the discomfort and looking really unfashionable to wear. As long as you're blocking front on light, IPRGC cells are actually not going to phototransduct enough to really cause any issues with translating that light into the pineal gland and melatonin. So hopefully we can put that one to bed now, because it comes up like constantly around everywhere. Peripheral light, oh, your glasses aren't wraparound. It doesn't matter. It's the science is out there. We've dug it up, and it's and we've discussed it, and it's not an issue.
Wow, it is so interesting because like right now I have a light to my right that people can probably see on the right side of my arm here. And if I turn my head and I can see that that light is now turning, it's way blue. So you're saying that it's because of the angle at which the light hits your retina?
Yes.
Is that generally the idea?
Absolutely, yeah, that is absolutely spot on. So obviously the light still hitting your skin is going to be a problem. That's still going to be an issue.
Okay.
Not as much as it passing through the eye, but it won't physically be able to pass through and actually phototransduct through the main gateway or your suprachiasmatic nucleus and body clock. So it's actually not an issue through the eyes. Like skin is a separate thing. Like light
Mm-hmm.
angle is always going to be an issue no matter where you are with your skin. So this is why it's always so important as well to actually look at your circadian environment as well. So getting your house fitted with red lights, and then if you're only watching the only blue light sources from your TV or laptop in the evenings, that light angle is actually just direct. There's going to be no light passing through the sides of your glasses anyway, even though it wouldn't be an issue. But it's still, if you turned your head obviously and had different angles of light coming through, it's still not going to affect the light passing through your eye because it needs to be straight on. But it still will affect hitting your skin if that's exposed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's so crazy how much light affects our health and our life, and affects so many things in our life that it's crazy to me that something that seems so basic can be so complex, especially when you start understanding how the cells, the mitochondria, are impacted primarily by light, but also by temperature, vibration, sound, frequency, these types of things, but primarily by light. And it's just the more you start learning about it, the more it's like, I think we should do another show, because if we do another show in 3 or 4 months, there's going to be all kinds of new research that have come out, or new insights, or new things. Like, this field is constantly updating, and it blows my mind how seemingly simple this is, but how incredibly complex it really plays out to be.
100%, and I completely agree. And I've got a list here of stuff I wanted to cover. We literally haven't covered it. We've covered one thing, Hashimoto's. I've crossed off. And these are the things I wanted to cover, but we'll have to do another show. I wanted to cover seasonal affective disorder and how
Okay.
to manage that. I wanted to cover kids and circadian rhythm and how kids develop circadian rhythms. I also want to talk more about green light, and I also wanted to talk a little bit more about a little bit like we chatted earlier about how I biohacked my dog with light as well. So
Yes.
there's a few bits there that we could easily do another about that. And like you said, if new stuff comes up, then we are going to hear about it first in Light and Health, and we'll be talking about it with you first as well. So yeah, we definitely have to do another one.
Yeah, Andy, let's definitely do another show, because, like you said, and maybe if you can send me that list too, and we'll try to stick to like a little table of contents for the show. That way we can
Yeah.
actually stick to it. But I hope you guys like that show. Andy, thanks so much for being on. That was so much fun.
Yeah, no, it's always a pleasure, and I'm really sorry on the if the reception was. Next time we have the show, I'll make sure I actually plug into the internet rather than running it, just next to the internet. So I'll make sure that's all in place so we can have better sound quality. So if anyone has any questions or wants anything clarified, or maybe I broke up when I was talking about something, they can contact us via the Blublox website or just in the Light and Health group. I'll be happy to go over it again and arrange time to speak to those individuals.
Awesome, awesome, cool. Yeah, so it's Facebook Light and Health, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just posted a link in the chat room if you guys are interested. Andy was nice enough to allow all of you guys to get a 10% discount on his blue blockers, and I'm a huge, huge fan. Obviously, I wear them, and you can see I have them on right now, and I love the work that he's doing. He's just doing so much cool stuff, and it's cool to see people that are aligned with their passion and what they're here to do. So if you guys want to get 10% off, there's a link to our store, and you guys can enter in the code. I think it's either EHR or EHR10, but the link in the chat room will give you guys that. So, oh, sorry, go ahead, Anthony.
I was going to say, yeah, no, I was going to say as well. We actually got a little bit of a better discount for people at the moment as well to use. So if they use the code Xmas18,
Oh, cool.
that will get 15% off until Christmas.
Oh, cool.
So they can use that. That hasn't gone live yet, but well, it's live now in our system, but we haven't actually. This is the first we've announced. So if they use
Nice.
just Xmas 18, they can get 15% off, and also in a couple probably won't be. They might just be ready before Christmas, but they'll definitely be ready to be shipped for January. Is we've got three really cool new styles coming out as well that are quick. We've got a Club Master style and also a round style, so completely round frames, a bit like what John Lennon used to wear.
Oh,
But
nice.
the coolest one that we've got coming out is aviators.
Oh, really? That's cool. So
Yeah.
they're going to be all
So
different colors as well?
yeah, all the different colors. So we'll do them in clear, we'll do them in red, we'll do them in yellow, and we'll also do them in readers, prescription, multifocal prescription, non-prescription. We'll do them in everything for everyone. So we're gonna have some really cool retro looking aviators, Club Masters, Bruce Willis used to wear, and also these round John Lennon types as well. So we're going really retro in our new release because that's what's coming on trend at the moment. So we want everyone to be super stylish biohacking. So they're coming. I'm literally, I've got them this week. They're getting tinted and material put into them from my lab next week, and then I should get them really after. So probably not going to get them in time for shipment at Christmas, but they'll order before Christmas. And yeah, we think they're going to be amazing. Honestly, they're so cool.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, maybe next time when we do a show, let's do another show in maybe 3 or 4 months, and I'll send you a link to schedule. That'd be kind of fun, right? And then we can talk about those as well as all that other stuff. That'd be great.
Amazing. Yeah, let's do.
Awesome. All right, Andy. Well, I'll let you get on with your day. I know you're just starting your day, and we're just wrapping up our day here in California. So, dude, thanks for being on. You're amazing, and I appreciate your work and all that you do, and just sharing it with our audience. It's just awesome. Thank you again, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin. It's always a pleasure to come on. I go on a few different podcasts, but this is the one that I've come on a couple of times now, and the one I enjoy the most. So keep up your great work as well. Keep spreading the message on everything light and health related. Thank you so much for everyone for listening to my ramblings as well. Honestly, it's like, it makes it all worthwhile. And even if we just touched one person today, Justin and I are going to be so stoked.
Awesome. All right, Andy, I will talk to you soon, my friend, and I'll be following you on Instagram and all that good stuff. So have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you in a few months.
Cheers, Justin. You too. We'll chat soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Awesome. All right, guys, there you go. Mr. Andy Mant from Blublox. What did you guys think of the show? This is kind of the time of the show where we get to kind of have a little wrap up, and it's always my favorite time of the show too, because we get to kind of like we get to kind of talk about the guests when they're not around, and so it's kind of fun. But I love Andy and his work. Cool stuff. Shadowrunner Radio says blue light is the devil. He's wearing blue blockers right now. Yeah, it's interesting. Blue light is the devil if it's man-made. If it's coming from the sun, it's incredibly beneficial for us. It helps. The blue light in the morning is sort of what helps to activate our hormones through the pineal gland, through the retinal pathway in the eyes. And so it's what actually tells your body to start creating cortisol and creating energy and waking up and setting your circadian timing. So the blue light, when it's coming from the morning sun, first thing in the morning, when it's perfectly balanced with red and orange and purple and green, it's actually incredibly beneficial. But blue light coming from screens is so toxic. And like right now, I'm sitting in front of a computer that I don't have Iris installed. Iris is in our store. It's the best software that you could ever install on your computer or your phone, but it essentially cuts out 100% of the blue light. I think it's like $15, and it's available in our store. And it's the number one software that I use. But because of the way that we do this show, I don't want to have an orange screen as the output for the YouTube video. It would look really weird. So I have to protect myself and all of that. So this is why I'm wearing these glasses. And so, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that show with Andy. Tell me, I'm curious what you guys thought about it, what you think about light. I wanted to get to Tweet Lady's comment here a few minutes ago. She mentioned that she said here that I need to get back in the habit of wearing special blue blocking glasses in the evening. And this is one thing I wanted to to state and point out is that it's incredibly important to mitigate all of the light that's coming at us at all during different times of the day. This is the mistake that a lot of people make, is that you only block blue light in the evening. And if you're getting blue light from an artificial source in the daytime, which any indoor light is going to have, indoor light is going to have like 6,500 Kelvin, and the blue temperature is going to be 100% blue and almost zero red or purple to mitigate that if it's coming from a screen. So if you're getting blue light either from a screen during the day, like a computer screen or your cell phone, or indoor compact fluorescent lighting that's in most typical office buildings, like this room I'm in now is pitch black except for this light that's on me right now, because I don't want to put all of that light on me. So if you're getting any of that light during the day, like let's say you work in an office building, let's say you work indoors, and you're exposed to this kind of light, you want to make sure that you're blocking that light as well. So it's incredibly important to make sure that the light that you're getting exposed to, if it's not coming from the sun, you're blocking that. Whether it's in the evening, whether it's in the daytime, or whether it's in the morning. A lot of people have asked me over the years, what kind of, protection do you use in the morning before you get up? So like, let's say you get up at super early like Andy does over there in Perth, and let's say you're getting up around like 5 o'clock in the morning, and let's say there's no the sun's not risen yet, and you're it's still kind of dark. What kind of light should you be exposed to in the morning? And from my research and everything that I've been able to read and to understand, is that you want to make sure that you block 100% of the blue during the morning before the sun rises. So just think of yourself in terms of like the sun, and how the sun is affecting your biology and what time of day you're being exposed to light at. So like, for example, the sun, right now it's 5:15, it's December here in California, so the sun set a few minutes ago. So this light that I'm being exposed to now is incredibly damaging to my health, right? But in order for me to do this show, I can't just turn off the light. I'd be sitting here in pitch black. So in order to mitigate that, I need to make sure I block. So in the morning, if you get up before the sun does, it's really important to block blue light until the sun comes up. If you're indoors, I typically wear glasses anytime I'm indoors. So, a lot of people will ask me, well, how come, what color glasses do you wear in the daytime indoors, and does it matter? Does it, change things? So my strategy is sort of this: if I'm indoors and it's daytime, it doesn't matter if it's, in December or January or in the middle of summer in August or in June. If I'm indoors and it's daytime, then I'm wearing yellow glasses. I have a pair of the yellow glasses from Blublox here that I wear. So that's because if you don't have a refrigerator, or if you don't have a light if you haven't replaced the light in your refrigerator, then whenever you open up the door to the refrigerator or turn a light on indoors, you're going to be exposed to like 6,500 Kelvin and 100% blue color temperature of blue light without any of the mitigating other color frequencies. So you're going to be damaging your mitochondria. You're going to be damaging your circadian rhythm if you're not blocking blue light in the daytime. So when it comes to the evening, my strategy has been this, and it seems to be working pretty well, is I have a number of different blue blocking glasses that I wear, most of which are from Andy's company. And I wear different ones, different brands. I recommend, in full disclosure, I recommend buying as many different blue blocking glasses as you possibly can. Here's one of the things I don't like about Andy's glasses, and this is only because he produces high quality stuff, is that like I have a pair of blue blocking glasses right in front of our door that goes into our garage. And our garage has these huge fluorescent lights, right? So it's almost 100% blue light. And these glasses are great for that, but the problem with them is that they're expensive, and I sort of treat them like, they're very expensive, right? So I want to make sure I don't drop them or anything like that. So I have a pair of those cheap ones from Uvex. I think they're the Uvex brand, and they're from Amazon. They're like $7. And so I put those. I wouldn't put Andy's there because I don't want to damage them, or I don't want to like ruin them or anything. So Andy's I wear specifically for like, occasions like if I'm going out or I'm doing a show like this. If you want to be somewhat stylish, you want to make sure that you're wearing good stylish glasses that are also blocking blue light. So those UVEX ones, if I just go into the garage to go get some laundry or go get something out of the refrigerator, I'll just throw those UVEX on, just for like the 30 seconds I'm in the garage. And there's studies now showing that if you're exposed to blue light, even for a number of seconds, it affects your circadian biology, and it affects your melatonin production, and affects your body's ability to hold on to melatonin that you create during the daytime. So this is a really big deal. So even if you're going to go and just open the refrigerator door or just go into a room and just really quick turn on a light, it does affect you. So that's why I have some of those cheap orange glasses around the house that I can just throw on really quick. And if I drop them or if I leave them out somewhere, it doesn't really matter. I can just buy another pair for $7. So that's why I'm a big fan of making sure you have all different glasses. I keep some here in the studio. I keep some in my car. I keep some at home. I keep some in different parts of the home. So I just grab them, put them on real quick, take them off. But then these ones are cool because you can kind of wear them out. You can go to the grocery store or whatever in the evening and, you don't look crazy wearing them. And so it's important to have, I think, a lot of different types of blue blocking glasses. In full disclosure, I love the Blublox that Andy's making. I wear them all the time. I wear them every single day. And it's also good to get other brands and try different cheap ones, expensive ones. That way you have a full spectrum mitigation program going in your home, so that basically my philosophy now is that as soon as the sun sets, there's not one bit of artificial light that hits my eye from the time the sun sets, or if I'm indoors, all the way until I go to bed. So I will wear my glasses all the way until I'm literally laying in bed. I'll take my glasses off, close my eyes, put the glasses next to me, and then I'll go to bed like that. If I get up in the middle of the night, I put my glasses on to go to the bathroom. And we also have a red, like a Christmas bulb inside of a little salt lamp. What do you call those? Night lights. So we have a little salt lamp night light that I put a red bulb into. If you follow our Instagram, you probably check this out. But I put a red bulb into, and if I have to turn on a light in the middle of the night, if I go to the bathroom or something like that, I have that. So it's really important, this light stuff, guys, because it affects how your mitochondria works. That's essentially what it comes down to. And you want to make sure that your mitochondria are protected and well kept care of, because it's the mitochondria through the process of ATP that causes your body to produce energy. And then that energy is given to the DNA and the cells replicate based on their genetic programming. And if they don't have enough energy from the mitochondria, then they're not producing cells correctly. If they're not producing cells correctly, then you're having issues in your body, namely with the body's ability to talk to itself. You have autoimmune issues. You have all kinds of issues that happen as a result of the cells not replicating correctly. Increased aging. So you have all kinds of really crazy, weird stuff going on when it comes to all this stuff. So that's why it's really important to make sure that you treat your mitochondria well. And the best way to do that is understanding light and how it affects your circadian biology, your mitochondria, because ultimately, it's your mitochondria that controls your genetic expression. So people think, oh, I've got the BRCA1 gene, I got the BRCA2 gene, I should get, a double mastectomy. Doctors are telling me I have this gene, but I have, breast cancer runs in my family. I need to make sure to prevent that by getting rid of my breasts and cutting them out because I got these genes. But what controls the genes? We just did a show a few years ago with Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he talked about epigenetics. But on a physical level, what controls your gene? It's your mitochondria. It controls your genetic expression. Dr. Doug Wallace has done a lot of work on this. He's out of the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, and he's sort of known as the mitochondrial expert around the world and the leading authority on mitochondria. And he and Dr. Cruz was even saying recently, he's a neurosurgeon, has been on our show multiple times, and he was saying that 98% in his findings of all disease, it comes down to it's a metabolism issue. It's a metabolic issue, 98% of all diseases. And 98% of all diseases are tied inextricably to blue light toxicity, this alien sun that we're exposed to on a daily basis. And we have no idea what we're doing. You see kids at the mall, you see people exposed to blue light, and it's just like, no one has any idea. I go to the health food store. This is what's crazy. Like, I'll go to the health food store, and I haven't yet seen one person that's wearing blue blocking glasses. I mean, this is the level to which we're at, right? You have all these people buying superfoods and buying these crazy herbs like chaga and reishi mushrooms and all these amazing products, and it's 8 o'clock at night, and they're walking around the health food store under fluorescent lighting, not realizing that if they wanted to do better for their health, all they'd have to do is buy a pair of blue blocking glasses, wear them, go to bed earlier, and cover up their skin, and that would do more for their health than taking a chaga mushroom. But unfortunately, this information is not really out there yet, so we're trying to do our best to educate people through people like Andy Mant, as well as doing our own research about the effects of this lighting situation that we have going on in our culture today. I mean, people are staying up all hours of the night and not understanding why. Eric says here, my sleep schedule has flipped completely. I'm now tired when the sun goes down. Before, I was staying up all night and I went to bed at very irregular times. So Eric, are you blocking light, I hope? Are you like doing the blue blocking glasses thing and mitigating the indoor lighting? Lauren King says, I loved your show, going to rewatch it and make notes. Yeah, Lauren, I apologize for the connection that we had with Andy. It's one of those things, it's like 2018. Unfortunately, the internet is not fast enough to broadcast from Perth, and so we had an issue with him cutting out, but it was literally the best connection we could get. So I'm glad you enjoyed it otherwise, though. I appreciate that. Shadowrunner Radio. Blue light from sun is good. Yeah, that's right. Nikki. Hey, Nikki. Great to have you here. This is awesome. Seeing a lot of regulars here, too. The enigma of our being is the brightest, whitest light. As it draws near to mass, it goes from the hue of rose into gold into the first corona blue light. That dissipates to become matter flesh. Yeah, it's interesting, right? When light slows down, matter gets formed, right? So essentially, we are repositories of light because we contain matter, right? Our actual physical matrix, our somatic body, our corporeal being is physical in nature. And so it has figured out a way to slow light down, and that's what actually creates physical beings and physical matter in the universe. It's interesting, right? This whole stuff goes super, super deep. Sleeping purple lighter, Tiger. What's the code for 10% off of Andy's sites? I'm buying 3 pairs. Yeah, cool. Let me, there's a link, Sleeping Purple Tiger, underneath the description. Let me see if I can paste it here again. This is to our show, or actually our store. The code is EHR10, I think. Let me open that up real quick. But if you missed it, yeah, it's EHR, just for 10% off. But if you're watching on a replay or some other time, make sure to enter the code. I think he said XMIS18, but make sure to go through our link if you want to support the work that we do. XMIS, XMAS18, I think will give you 15% off. And that was the first time that he has shared that. So that's cool. Cool. Yeah, but if you go through our link and purchase, that will help support the work that we do, and good people. It's really cool. I really love people like Andy and people doing the kind of work that he's doing, bringing this stuff out to the masses, because it's refreshing to be around people, in my opinion, that are so great when it comes to being aligned with their passion. And you can tell. I mean, his company too is now partnered with a company or an outfit that donates, I think, a free pair of reading glasses for every pair of glasses that you buy. It's on their website. You can check it out. And that's really cool. It's a really great foundation, great charity. And I really like Andy and what he's doing a lot. It's just cool to support good people. And this whole light thing, man, I'm telling you guys, like, after being involved in 630 shows, and I've been relentlessly researching, natural health, alternative healing, what's going wrong with our culture? Why are so many people getting sick, and chronic degenerative diseases? I've been researching this stuff since 2003 when I first got involved in this stuff. And for the longest time, until we had Dr. Jack Cruz on the show years ago, I just thought it was all food. And it made sense to me that the food, that we eat becomes us, right? But man, when I start realizing it's really more about light, and this actually gets into the work Adam Bergstrom does too. When Andy was talking about the angle of the light that hits the retina from the peripheral vision, it doesn't somehow injure us in the same way that we thought it did. It's because of the angle. And Adam Bergstrom talks about the same thing. That's why he has a chronobiotic way of eating. It's not a avoidance of certain foods. It's actually, you can eat the certain foods, but you got to eat them at the right time. And so your liver has a proper time, your gallbladder has a proper time, all of your organs have a proper time, and then food has a proper time as well. Like so, according to chronobiotic nutrition, root vegetables, seafood, these are foods that should be eaten at night or consumed at night because they are the last ones on the planet to get the sunlight, the rays of the sun. It's the angle at which the sun hits these foods and how much daylight these foods get from the biophotonic energy. That's why fruit should be eaten in the morning, because as the sun rises, the angle of the sun hits those tall trees that get and receive the biophotons from the sun first. And then as the day progresses, the sun will actually hit bushes and lower lying plants and animals, and that's when you consume those foods. And then in the evening, you eat your root vegetables and your seafood and stuff like that. And so it makes a lot of sense, especially considering what Andy was saying here about the angle of the light hitting your eyes. And so the more we study about this stuff, the more fascinating it all becomes. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that show. And make sure to check out our store. We did that whole thing on the Bellicon and the Juve red light therapy. There's also the Relax Far Infrared Sauna that's available in our store. If you guys want to check that out, that's another product that I just absolutely love this thing, my friends. I mean, you guys definitely check this thing out. It's the Relax Far Infrared Sauna. We ship them all around the world. Heat therapy has been used since the beginning of time to sweat out toxins and to go through ritual and ceremony. And this far infrared sauna is by far my favorite tool. And so now that I realize that Andy was saying too, that because it's a far infrared light, I really should be utilizing this during the daytime. So that's an interesting piece that I think that I'm going to start making sure, because a lot of times I'll do it in the evening, but I forgot this aspect that far infrared heat is actually light. So I'm going to start doing this during the daytime now. So it's really great sauna. If you guys want to learn more about it, you can look at, if you're watching on YouTube, there's links in the description. But it's a really incredible product. I won't go on and on about it here because we've done that in other shows. But suffice it to say, this sauna therapy should be, I think, a part of everybody's life. And as well as this Stockton Aloe 1 too, guys. If you really want to improve your digestion, aloe vera is it's the original superfood on planet Earth. It's the #1 most powerful food that you can ever consume. It's incredibly high in sulfur, which helps deliver oxygen to the cells. It's got a number of over 75 different antioxidants and minerals and vitamins and all kinds of cool stuff in this Stockton Aloe 1 that's 100% raw, and it doesn't have any fillers or excipients in it too. So they ship it to you fresh, frozen. So if you guys want to check out the Stockton Aloe 1 and or the Blue or the Relax Far Infrared Sauna, the Juve or the Bellicon, I'll put links to those things at extremehealthradio.com/638, because you guys might be listening on different parts of the world, different times, or you might be just wanting to check out the show page for that. For this show, Sleeping Purple Tiger says, what's the best way to put infrared light on my boyfriend's cojones? I love that. Infrared. So, well, you could do the sauna. That's a far infrared light. You could do that. The Juve is incredible. For that, you can get the infrared light from the Juve red light therapy device. But the best and most effective, I think, would be having him go out in the sun and exposing his bits to the actual sun. Because here's something that Nathan Walls shared with us recently. And he's a great guy. He's a friend of Andy's, a friend of mine. He's been on the show. Great guy. But he was talking about recent research that he has discovered that actually shows that it's possible for the body to create melatonin from light locally. So what does that mean? We once thought that melatonin was sort of created when the sun goes down, but we now know that melatonin gets created in the morning by exposing our eyes to the light of the sun when the sun rises. The problem is that we let go of that melatonin by exposing ourselves to fake light during the day and during the night. We lose all that melatonin that we created, right? So, but when the sun hits your skin, you're actually able to produce melatonin on the area of the skin where the sun is shining. So how does that translate to boys and girls? Well, to boys, and you should get your your family jewels in the sun every day, and your prostate in the sun too. And how do you get your prostate in the sun? Well, you got to be good at yoga and be good with your creative mind there. But really important if you want to avoid prostate cancer and testicular cancer and all these other sorts of cancers, is you want to make sure that you get these areas of your body in the sun every day to create melatonin locally. Melatonin is not just a sleep hormone. A lot of people think we've been sold that as a sort of a bill of goods. But melatonin has over 4,000 different enzymatic processes and biological modulation processes that happens in the body. Melatonin is the number one anti-cancer hormone. So you want to make sure that you're creating that locally on the skin through getting naked in the sun, my friends. That's what it's all about. So, I used to make fun. I'm a big surfer, and we used to make fun of this, particular area where people go nude and stuff like that. But now I'm starting to realize that, like, this is the way to go, is to get your full body in the sun every single day. And so with the girls, getting your boobs, getting your breasts in the sun every day, really important, really, really important if you want to avoid any extra cells that are being, people are having these days, issues with that. Eric, great to have you here. Yes, Justin, I have some blue blockers now. When I try to watch TV without them, it's so bright now. Yeah, but seriously, you can see how blue light is keeping everyone up at night, for sure. Yeah, I agree. I can't go without my blue blocking glasses. I seriously can't go without them at all. I have to wear them. It's just too extreme. Darren says, recently I've learned not to supplement melatonin. Yeah, Darren, that's an interesting idea. There's a lot of people talking about this exogenous substance, putting exogenous substances into your body that your body creates endogenously, and that is melatonin. And so we're supposed to be creating melatonin from the sun through our eyes, and a lot of people are saying now that if you take exogenous melatonin, it's actually decoupling the system in your body that actually it is tied to your circadian rhythms. And when you take exogenous melatonin, you're decoupling, you're preventing your body from having a strong system to be able to create its own melatonin from the environment. That's the theory. I don't know if that's true because I haven't looked at the actual pathways and seen in real time, if you can prove all this stuff, but I've taken a little bit of melatonin here and there, and you can eat foods that have melatonin in them as well. But I typically store it up during the summer, and I do my best to avoid taking melatonin because of this. Maybe new research will prove me wrong, and but until then, it makes sense, right? It makes sense. Sleeping purple, free hang I love that. Sleeping Purple Tiger says free hang in public. That's hilarious. Make sure to get this involved. Get melatonin on your skin every single day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this show. This was an awesome, awesome show with Andy Mant. Make sure to support our show if you can too. I'd appreciate that. And I think that's about it. We love you guys so much. We're going to be on tomorrow at 10:45 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to subscribe to all the stuff that we're doing. If you're on iTunes, you're going to get a show every single day, which is awesome. We're going to get best of shows as well as live shows. So a lot of cool stuff happening if you're subscribed to our podcast on iTunes. If you're on YouTube, we're broadcasting 3 days a week. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the live shows that we do. So tomorrow morning, we're doing a show all about natural dog care and pet care, natural methods to do that. So that's at 10:45 a.m. There's a little bell too for you guys to check, and that way you can be notified when we go live. So anyway, love you guys so much. Thank you again for everything, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any information in this blog or to start any health program without first consulting a health professional. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is in no way intended as medical advice, as a substitute for medical counseling, or as a treatment/cure for any disease or health condition, and nor should it be continued as such. Always work with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, prescription drug use, lifestyle, or exercise activities. This information is provided as is, and the reader/viewer assumes all risks from the use, non-use, or misuse